Wait, you just had a different mug. Do you have various mugs going on? You have two drinks? What's
Yeah,
in there?
one is English breakfast tea and one is herbal tea. I finished my
What? You like uppers and downers at the same time?
hmm
Shit. You're
yeah,
hardcore.
you know
Wow.
it, girl.
Wow. So
You know it.
we're both freezing.
I'm actually okay because I just put my heat on, which is probably during the time that we started this conversation cost me about £1,000. So
Oh my God, I'm laughing, but that's not funny.
I know
That's
it's bad. I don't know how we're all going to do it, but I guess we'll just do it. I'm lucky.
yeah.
I'm very lucky that I can get through this winter, but I'm genuinely like devastated for a lot of people who
I know. I know.
it's really sad. And then I read today that they're talking about doing like power turning like the black doing blackouts from 4 till 6 in the winter, which I just think is so unbelievably cruel because that's when kids come home from school.
Yeah.
Um, and I just think governments in the West, I mean, governments everywhere, but specifically governments in the West, literally give zero minus zero fucks about children. They give it all this,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't really give a fuck about children.
Yeah,
They don't care about their health. They don't care about their welfare. They don't care about their educations. They don't care about what they're doing after school. They don't care about any of it. So, anyway, that's a conversation for another day. But
yeah,
my
it
first
is.
thought was just like, what are people going to like? Kids are at home at that point. So, what they'll
Yeah.
start doing is leaving the house. And then where are they going to go when they leave the house? They're going to go places to be warm, and are they going to then go out and be like getting into trouble or hanging around on the street or, you know, I don't know. My brain just goes there. So, anyways, but I'm very lucky. I can put my heat on and I keep inviting people over to my house who don't have any heat. Alec is just like just keeps looking at me. I'm just like, yeah, yeah, you guys should come over. It's fine. By the time everyone comes over, there'll be enough just like person heat in the room that we won't even need to put the heat on.
Yeah, body heat,
Um,
exactly.
but you're really cold right now because you're in Chicago.
I am freezing.
It must be such a shock for you because isn't it like 100 degrees in California?
Yeah, we just came out of a massive heat wave and now I'm in like the Arctic tundra with the wind. It's
Right
nuts.
on the lake. I mean, Evanston as well is like really, really cold because you are right on the lake.
Yeah. Yeah. Not only that, but we went in the lake yesterday
Like
because
physically, your bodies,
physically in the lake
not like on a
because
boat.
no, like shoes off, pants rolled up in the lake because we're here scattering my grandfather's ashes and that's where he
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be.
Oh,
So that was interesting.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
you had his memorial as well.
yes, we had his memorial yesterday. He grew up in Evanston, which I hadn't known that you have frequented Evanston.
Yeah.
I didn't know Ryan went to school here.
Yeah. Ryan went to Northwestern and
Wow.
he would speak at the university um, about podcasting and marketing and blah blah blah. So we went there a couple times, and then
Wow.
also we just went there when we would go and visit Chicago. We would always go pop into Evanston,
Yeah.
um, just because it's so pretty. It's a nice way to spend
Gorgeous.
a couple hours, and he wanted to show me. I remember when we not the first time we went to Chicago, but the second time, and it was the winter. He wanted to show me around the university, which was really sweet. But you were saying how like you really were hit with grief.
I was really hit with grief yesterday for the memorial. And like you said, grief just doesn't go away. which is super annoying sometimes. But
Mhm.
yeah, my grandpa died 2 years ago, but it all came up and I spoke, and that was really, really difficult for me to put together what I wanted to say. It's so hard to sum up someone's life, isn't it? It's so
I mean, you
strange. You
can't.
can't do it, but like to get up there and they're like, okay, you have 6 minutes. I was like, yeah, fuck off. I spoke for like 30 minutes. but but to put all that into words that are not only meaningful to you but make sense to people listening in a group, it was really challenging for me. uh
And also just to get through it without like crying
and then to get
constantly as
through it
well.
with it, yeah, I mean, I cried the whole time. I was like, I yeah. um but I said a few things that are really powerful that I learned from going through somebody's death with them, because I
Mm,
took care of my grandpa at the end the last couple of years, and then I spent the last week of his life with him.
yeah.
And something that stuck with me is, and I spoke of this yesterday, is the smallest things become everything
Mm,
as a human. Like the
mm,
last day he was alive, I was with him in the hospital and he wanted hot coffee. They were
mm-hmm.
trying to get him to drink water, but he just wanted his coffee. And I was like, the guy's dying. Just let him
Yeah,
have
he's
his
supposed to
fucking
die.
coffee,
Yeah.
man. But he hated the hospital coffee, so I'd have to run out and get him this scalding hot coffee from a real place. And he would try to bring the cup to his mouth, and I would try to help him, but he didn't want me to help him. He wanted the dignity of doing it himself.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me so deeply, that just that watching him bring that cup to his mouth, and
Mm,
he could barely do it. But I learned in that moment so much about the power of dignity for all of us.
mm,
Dignity is so important to human life,
mm,
and it's taken from you when you're ill,
mm,
when you can't help yourself for various reasons, when you're old. Dignity is taken from us, and that's really hard for humans to have to go through.
mm,
um, and just little things like that just stuck with me. So yeah, we celebrate all phases of life, don't we? We celebrate birth, we celebrate death, we celebrate milestones.
mm,
And each of those areas are meant to teach you specific lessons that you couldn't get any other way.
mm.
I'm sure you could write a novel on the lessons, I mean, 10 novels on the lessons you've learned through losing Ryan and Max. So that's just all on my mind. I'm going through a
Mm.
lot. I'm just going to go on a long
Just
walk after this.
some simple stuff, not too heavy, nothing.
Simple stuff. Nothing's really been going on. Yeah, and then the experience of going to that beach and tipping the urn into the water and watching those ashes become nothing. Like, where did they go? Do they can
Mm,
you can't pinpoint where it goes. It's not the water, it's not the sand, it's not the air, it's dust to dust. And that was
mm.
really, really a powerful thing for me to see happen.
Mm.
So what's up with you? You went to
Um,
Paris.
I did. I went to Paris. Alec and I went. It was really interesting.
I mean, earlier you said you hated it. Tell us about that.
I think hate's a strong word.
Oh,
Okay,
okay. Maybe
so
I embellished. Did you not use the word
no,
hate?
no, no. I did, but I think hate is a strong word to use. I would say the first day I kind of like felt like I hated it a little bit, but okay, so Excuse me. It's really dirty and it smells like piss everywhere you go.
Well,
Everywhere.
that's the French.
Yeah. Rude.
I'm sorry, I'm married to an Englishman. That's how he feels.
I know. Well, listen, now I'm feeling a couple ways.
Will does not like the French.
I know that Parisians are very, very different than other types of French people. And
hello to all our French listeners, by the way. We love you.
Yeah. No. I know lots of French people, but mostly from other areas of France, south of France, and like more countryside and other places. And I've always had lovely experiences there. I've been to Nice, I've been to Lyon, I've been to wherever else. I've been to I've been to a lot of places.
I think I just saw a ghost behind you, by the way.
Oh, fuck off.
I'm sorry, it's not my fault. Which reminds me,
I just felt something really weird when you said that as well.
People have been asking if we're going to do a spooky Halloween episode, and the answer is yes.
Yeah, we'll do a spooky episode.
No, I saw something on your right shoulder.
I can really smell.
Where? Yeah, right there. I saw it right there. Anyway, you were saying?
What's that smell? I was saying
you've been to areas.
Smell. I've been to areas all over France that aren't Paris and always had a really nice time. So it's not like a French thing. It's definitely a Paris thing. You know, the Parisians do have a real reputation for being really rude. And I guess they just are. It's not like a joke, you know. It's not
really?
It's not like quirky Parisians. They're kind of rude, and you're just like, yeah, they can't be that rude. And then you go, and you're like, oh, okay, I'll just go fuck myself then.
Damn.
Yeah, it's interesting. But
what did you do while you were in the city?
It's this kind of thing where it's like, you know, in any other culture, if you have like a language barrier or you're communicating with somebody in any other culture that I've been in, and I would say probably most cultures around the world, when you try to like ingratiate yourself to the person in the sense of like, there's a language barrier, I'm trying to explain to you what I'm saying, I'm trying to use what I can to say what I'm trying to say, and then, you know, they kind of respond and with kindness, there's a facial expression, there's a, oh, okay, you know, there's some kind of response. Nothing. So just completely like dead face, which I think is actually like, if you knew somebody that did that, you'd be like, they're a sociopath.
Yeah.
So it's just a whole culture
of sociopaths.
Yeah. Oh, I know what that smell is now. He's waxing the floors. It was really frightening me. You were trying to move on from it, and I'm actually sitting here like the whole time trying to talk to you, but all I'm thinking about is like, is my house about to explode?
Oh, I see.
He's waxing the floors.
Okay, good. He's waxing the floors. God, you've always got him doing.
No, it's not me. Yeah, it's he's just down there, just like.
I just imagine him just topless, just shirtless, just.
Yeah, all the time. So anyway, I don't think it's cute or charming that the Parisians are fucking rude. It smells like piss. There's no good coffee, and all of the food that we ate was shit, apart from one night when we went to this restaurant. You're gonna love this. We went to a restaurant. I literally Googled best coq au vin in Paris because I wanted some like French traditional food. If you Google English traditional food in London, a bunch of places will come up where you can get game pie, roasted birds, roasted meat, you can get stews, you can get, you know, all of that shit. Nothing other than touristy stuff comes up. But I found this one restaurant that was like all different types of birds. So it's like guinea fowl, chicken, pheasant, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow I managed to get a reservation. It's like a really fancy place. I refused to have another bad meal. I was like, I'm not having another bad meal. I've come this far to a place that is all everyone's like, oh, the food is so good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lose it if I eat one more shitty meal. I paid 138 euros for a roast chicken.
What?
Yeah, yeah,
What?
yeah. And it was good, don't get me wrong, it was nice. I'm not sure it was worth 138
Oh
euros.
man, and they were probably rude to you.
They were kind of rude, actually, yeah. And what you'll love, which is it just like Alec and I were pissing ourselves because they brought the chicken to the table like it was
To show
wine and
you.
said, yeah, to say, Madame, like, will this chicken suit you?
Mm.
And I'm like moving the things off the table to thinking they're about to put it down. And he was like, no, like, this is your chicken. I was like, okay, sounds good.
Did it have feathers on it still?
No, it had already been roasted. It's just before they
Oh,
like
I
brown the
see.
skin. But they do this thing there where they like kind of soak the chicken in brine for a couple days before they cook it, so it's so moist and delicious.
Yeah.
But it was really beautiful there. It really was. It was stunning, and I was charmed by it, and I could see why people are like obsessed by it. But I have to say, overall, I think I'm gonna have to go back a few times and try like learn to love it a bit. I think while we were there was 3 people in total I counted that were polite to us. And we walked around a lot. It was really amazing. We went to the Louvre and I saw Marie Antoinette's like traveling case with all of her things in it, which
Wow.
was just like, I still can't really quite process it. It's a case that's probably a meter by, I don't know how much, maybe 2/3 of a meter, and it's like they still have her little crystal glasses with her, the MA
Wow.
thing in the floral center, like her little scissors, her sewing kit, her eye bath, her foot salts, her pen, her ink, her tea set, like everything in this case is like what she would take around with her to make her comfortable. And that for me was just like the most incredible experience, because listeners may or may not know I am quite obsessed with Marie Antoinette.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's a really fascinating character because I think she's both a victim and a villain at the same time. And I think that we've seen her story played out through history before and after, and we're still seeing it played out now, where we kind of vilify this woman
Yeah.
for being too much and not enough at the same time, and then we just rip them to shreds until they either kill themselves or disappear or become drug addicts or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, Britney Spears, Amy Winehouse, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. So
Yoko
anyways, that
Ono.
exactly, Yoko, big one.
The woman who was quote unquote responsible for King George abdicating. Was
Oh
it
yeah, yeah,
was it
Wallace
George?
Simpson.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a pretty interesting subject to me, but it was interesting to see everything that she had while the people in her country were starving. So it is hard to kind of understand that. How could they all just have so much while
Sociopaths,
their
mate.
people starving? I mean, it's exactly what we're seeing today. Hello.
Yeah.
you know Food banks have never been being used more than they are right now in this country. There's I think 2 or 3 free bars in the Houses of Parliament where it's
Yeah.
not really adding up. So that was amazing. Going to the Louvre was amazing, and just the building was amazing. Like, the art's really great and amazing and cool and like amazing to see, but me, I'm such a like, you're like a castle bitch and I'm like a stately home bitch. Like, I going into Napoleon's apartments was like, have you been to Paris?
Jeez. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I have.
Did you
Yeah.
like it?
I did. I mean, I was 17 at the time, so I just had. Not quite the adult experience, but I would really like to go back, but I don't think it's ever going to happen because will not go to France. Um, but wow, Napoleon's apartments must have been incredible.
Maybe
Uh,
we can go.
yeah, you and I can go. I went to the Art Institute here in Chicago, and that was quite extraordinary. There are so
Mm,
many pieces of just Degas and Monet and oh my goodness, Van Gogh, which
mm,
I've been schooled by Will that it's Van Gogh, not Van Gogh, as we say in
yeah.
America.
Van Gogh.
Van Gogh
Well, he
and
wasn't Rosal.
and they had a miniature exhibition, a miniatures that blew
Oh,
my mind. I'm going to post pictures of it.
miniatures.
You cannot
Yes,
tell
please
that
do.
these rooms are miniature. They're incredible. They were incredible. And that was thrilling. That I'm so thrilled by miniatures. I'm not ashamed to say
I
it. I'm
know. No, they're
obsessed.
so cute.
Obsessed with miniatures.
Why are they
Uh
so exciting?
they're so exciting to me to like,
I know, me
oh,
too.
you can create this world. Like it's like you can design.
Sylvanians, did you guys have those?
No, what's that?
Sylvanians. Okay, if you had been an English child, because you were like a rich bitch posh girl, you would have definitely had Sylvanians.
I'm still trying to save up to get that rich bitch hairbrush you told me to get.
Oh,
When I was with you, you're
yes.
like, here, use this. Every rich bitch has one. And I was like, oh, I've never even heard of this.
You need to get it's the Mason Pearson. You need to get the little kiddie one.
Okay.
That one's only $130.
Oh, only 130. Okay.
Well, what's
Um,
amazing is I found my grown-up one from my childhood. So now I've got two.
bitch.
Yeah, well, they weren't that much when we were kids. They definitely didn't cost that much when we were kids. But
Jesus.
anyway,
No, I didn't have those miniatures that you're talking about.
Sylvanians. I'm going to show you them.
Anyone in Chicago, go see this miniatures exhibition. Go to the Art Institute. I'm going to see what's playing here tonight, and I'm going to drag Will to a play
Good.
or a symphony
That sounds good.
or
Okay, this is
something.
Sylvanians. They were like little creatures and
Yes,
they were
I
like
did.
velvety. Yeah, you
I
had
had
these, didn't
those.
you? Of
Yes.
course you did. Of course you fucking did.
Obsessed.
And then, oh, this is the one that everyone had that I loved. I wasn't allowed Sylvanians.
Why?
Well, just because once you've got one, then you have to have all of them, and then you have to
Yeah.
have like a million things. And I was already into Barbies.
I
So
wasn't
I think
allowed
mum,
Barbies.
so and then you get all these little houses and everything.
Yeah, yep.
Oh,
Oh
all them.
God. Oh, oh
Why
God. I'm
why
gonna
weren't you allowed Barbies? Because they were too hoish.
Yeah, because they were tits and ass and plastic, and I wasn't allowed to play with
Oh,
plastic. My toys were wood and
oh yeah.
cloth. So, and none of my dolls had faces.
Oh my God, no wonder you're
No,
so fucking weird.
Waldorf toys don't have faces for the most part because it allows the child to
Be
imagine
haunted.
imagine the face and not be stuck with like the emotion that they're given, but like kind of put the child can put themselves onto the toy more as
And it's
opposed
those
to
dolls that blink that are just like
yeah.
haunting.
I mean, there's some
Horrible.
really terrifying dolls that I've seen that literally are like crying in pain. Like, why would you put that expression on a doll's face? I don't get
Oh,
it.
in Paris, they had Eiffel Tower dildos.
Ooh, did you get me one?
Yeah. Imagine that. You're just like, oh, yeah, I want to be fucked by the Eiffel Tower.
Oh my God. Do they have a Statue of Liberty one? Maybe you could collect them from a Leaning Tower
In,
of Pisa?
for
Pizza?
girls who like a bend.
Pisa? Yeah,
Okay.
for girls that like the bend.
Mm-hmm.
Leaning Tower of Pisa. Yeah, this could be a
Um,
thing. Well, apparently it's
like
already a thing.
you could do like St. Paul's Cathedral for women who like a more girthy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, you could do Big Ben.
for those who like a skinny pencil one.
You could do Big Ben. Yeah.
Or boys. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the penis trends are among
Yeah, girls and boys. I think there's something we could, merch for season 4.
just dildos around the world.
Yeah.
That made me laugh a lot. The dildo did make me laugh a lot. Have you heard of something? I've been just desperate to tell you this. Have you heard of something called Paris syndrome?
No.
So it's something that is mostly affecting Asian cultures. So Japanese, Chinese, and Koreans, they get Paris really, what's the word I'm looking for? Like pushed on them. The tourist boards really kind of like target them. And there's a lot of kind of like Paris propaganda over there. And Paris syndrome is when predominantly it's affecting Asian tourists, come over and they're so disappointed with the reality of Paris that they go into like physical distress and they have anxiety attacks, they pass out, vomiting, diarrhea, dysphoria, feelings of persecution. And then I've heard that at some of the airports, there are like people there like, for tourists who've come back from Paris, are like, do you need psychological help as a result of your trip to Paris? Because they're so disappointed, because it's just not like Emily in Paris, and it's not like Woody Allen's Midnight in Paris. It's like a real city. Isn't that the most amazing thing you've ever heard? I mean, it's sad. I think maybe I had it a little bit.
I think you definitely have Paris syndrome.
I think I
Wow.
did too.
I
I
think
think
I
I
have
had it.
Paris syndrome about like a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, I do think it's a big thing that especially affects younger people now because of social media, that
Yeah.
they have extreme feelings of disappointment because everything gets sold to them with filters on,
Yeah.
with different settings, with lighting, and like everyone's showing the highlights reel of their life or their trip here or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sure you've seen those pictures where they show the Taj Mahal and then you go to the left of it and it's like scaffolding and like a
Trash.
trash heap or
Yeah.
something.
Same thing with the
um
pyramids.
exactly. And most of those things, get really, really sold to people in a certain type of way. So then it is really disappointing when you're a teenager and a child. You can't really rationalize those emotions so much.
Social media
So
is the devil, guys. Gotta watch out.
I've
Not.
become so disenchanted with it.
Oh no.
I used to really kind of enjoy it, and I used to like posting and I used to like showing, and now I'm just kind of like,
I don't like it.
I'll
It's
share
exhausting.
stuff I like sharing stuff on my stories that's beautiful. I like sharing beautiful things. I think is my favorite thing to share. um but like I couldn't give two fucks about updating anyone about my life. I couldn't. No one cares. No one gives a fuck.
People care about
If
mine.
okay, girl.
I mean, my
But do you know what I
followers like
mean?
cling to my updates, I would say.
Oh, that's modest of you.
People need me.
I need you, so I know how it feels. When you don't give me your updates, then I just don't, it just doesn't feel right in the world anymore.
Are you gonna dish on your familia at all? You said you
Oh
were
yeah,
having
yeah,
something go
God.
on.
So two other good things about Paris were the wine is really cheap and really good. You can just get like the yummiest, stinkiest red wine for like
Mm,
€5.
yeah.
Um and the bread is just like, people, by the way, really do walk around with baguettes in their bags. I don't know if you thought maybe that wasn't real. And listeners, when you go to Paris, people really do, many people walk around with their like baguette in their purse.
And just a flask of wine.
It just gave me such a thrill to see. Oh, and the fashion was really good. I love looking at people's style. But anyways, I was drinking red wine because it was so cheap and delicious every day. And you know me, not a big drinker.
No.
So when I got back, we went out a couple nights after we got back, and I had wine those nights as well, red wine. And then on the Sunday, I just went into like the deepest depression, and I was just like, oh my God. And I did realize that it was kind of, I think, because I was having a bit of an alcohol come down.
Yeah.
But also I was just feeling really depressed about my family stuff. Which I'm really working through at the moment. I'm really trying to work through, God, the some of the biggest stuff for all of us is working through our family issues, and
Yeah.
everyone has them. And it is so rare that somebody it doesn't have any kind of family issues. And I think it's one of those really big things in life that is quite universal. And so I've really been working on those a lot since I came back to England, because, you know, my family's not straightforward. No side of my family is straightforward. Some are much more difficult than others. But what I realized on Sunday was, and this is going to sound so stupid maybe, but how my self-loathing and feelings of shame are born of my toxic family dynamics. And they've then been perpetuated through my life through boyfriends, bad friendships, bad bosses, bad jobs, my record deals, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I have found myself putting myself in situations that are comfortable because I'm used to being in this shame cycle. But I was feeling sort of disappointed and upset about family stuff, trying to really accept people the way they are. And I think when the way that people are isn't explosive or harmful or whatever in the big picture, but is harmful to you, it's like it's really tricky to kind of come to terms with, because it's not like it's you're not like, oh, this person is a monster, they're evil, they're terrible. It's almost just like them just existing and being themselves is actually damaging to you.
Yeah.
And that's a really hard way to feel about anyone, especially family. And I think the reason it came absolutely just hitting home on Sunday was because the people being rude to me in Paris made me feel really sad and really self-loathing. Even though it's not about me in the slightest, it's just the culture. This one guy at this bar that we went into where everyone was drinking, I went in and I asked for 2 glasses of wine, and he said, no, food only, so loudly in front of everyone in this quite small bar. And I just looked around and no one was eating, and no one had been eating, and it was all local people. And I think maybe it was just like, you're not welcome here type thing.
Yeah.
But for like 2 blocks, I just spiraled. And by the time we reached the traffic lights near the hotel, I burst out laughing. And Alec was like, what are you laughing at? I said, oh, just between now and that interaction with that man, I've given up my clothing line.
Yeah.
I am a terrible person. I'm going to starve myself from now into infinity. And I fucking hate myself.
Wow.
And he was like, that's what you've been thinking this whole time. I was like, yeah, I'm quitting everything and I'm disappearing, and everyone is better off without me. So Paris and the people of Paris being rude or difficult to me or unkind gave me this shame feeling. And then I came home and then I was like, fuck. And it sounds so obvious and so stupid. Yes, our family relationships affect the way we feel about ourselves. But for me, it's a major unlocking thing of like a direct correlation between feelings of self-loathing, like very strong aggressive feelings and shame coming from disappointing and dissatisfying family relationships.
Wow.
I just think it's so amazing how all of these things which don't feel linked can come into
I know. One little thing.
a man saying no.
No. Food only.
Yeah. And I
That
just looked around, I was like, oh, okay. I don't want you
right.
here.
You're not good enough.
You're not.
You're not in the club.
This is not. No. Yeah, pretty amazing.
Wow, Annabelle, that's so interesting. We walk around with all of this inside of us all the time.
I know, and I'm so tired of it, Lucy.
I know. I'm dealing with the same shit here. I mean, so much family stuff is coming up for me.
I'm sure.
Because this is my dad's side of the family, and he and I basically don't have a relationship right now, and it's so bizarre to be here without him when I can't share it with him, and he's the only person I want to share it with. You do so much acceptance on taking for people for where they're at and allowing them to be on their own journey, but what do you do when just their existence hurts?
Yeah, exactly.
How do you make sense of that for yourself? It just ties into what we said last week about taking responsibility for yourself. That's part of what that is. Is like you had to, and you did catch yourself with that man on the corner when you laughed. Like that was you taking responsibility for what had happened inside of you the last couple minutes. That's good. That's healthy. It's good that you could laugh and realize what had hit you. And it's good that you're connecting it to your family stuff that you're working on. Because most of the time people walk around bumping into furniture and never putting the pieces together. And you've just got to for yourself.
I mean, God, you don't have to, but for me, I just don't want to carry it all around anymore. I want to be free of it, and I think it all interlinks with, and the reason why I'm really kind of working on this stuff is what I had said to you last week about wanting to really be okay standing on my own 2 feet and going, no, I don't need anyone else. I'm good.
Yeah.
It's really hard when your parents don't love you the way that you need to be loved.
Yeah, it is.
And even just the smallest thing that they say, or not even your parents, somebody that you just really love doesn't love you the way that you need them to.
Could be the guy in the
smallest
cafe.
Thing that would be weird.
He didn't love you the way you needed to be loved in that moment.
No, he just didn't even anything me, like whatever. But I think it's so painful, and I think there's going to be so much freedom in just going, okay, that's okay that you don't love me the way I need you to, because I do. I love me.
Yeah, I love me
enough.
That's right.
For the both of us.
Yeah, exactly. That's where it is.
And then you start getting sensitive about things, and things that you know are a joke it's like, I know,
I don't want to live like that. That's
just get rid of it.
Yeah, just get it gone. I know. It's never over. When you think you've solved everything, there's an ocean of stuff behind it that waiting to be sifted through. It's just life.
It's like whack-a-mole.
Yeah. They're always coming back.
You're like, I'm cured. Woohoo.
And I think once
and then, like, the monster's like,
no, you're not. Once you accept that about life and you embrace that about life, then you can enjoy yourself more, and you're never going to solve it. But when you see it for the puzzle and the game that it is, then you can at least roll with the punches and have mercy for yourself and
And
and a
kindness
sense of
and
humor
love.
and kindness and
Yeah.
love and let yourself off the hook and let others off the hook.
Mm.
That doesn't mean like, forgiveness is confusing, and you and I have talked about this before. It's okay. It really requires so much mercy for yourself, and I'm trying
So
to
I've
get,
just felt like really tired since. Excuse me.
I bet. I mean, I've had nothing but carbs and wine for the last week, and I gotta say, I don't feel in a good headspace really because
Mm. Body's not functioning
no,
so
and
great.
alcohol's a depressant, and so you put yourself through a week of
Yeah.
drinking like that, going to Paris, and you have to recover. And you did say that you felt that depression sink in.
On Sunday, yeah, when I stopped drinking the next day and like that evening, I was like, oh, I'll just have a drink, it'll make it feel better. And I was like, no, bitch.
Yeah, no hair of the dog. I don't like that. The hair of the dog that bit you. Have another drink
I
to get
think
rid of your drinking.
I think if you just like taper off, I can see it from that perspective, but it's got to be like a lesser alcohol, you know?
Yeah.
You gotta
I can't,
wind it down.
I'm not good at that. I'm very cut, like on or
Yeah.
off. I can't
I
do
prefer
the,
I prefer that myself as well.
all right,
Girl, what's your news,
it's news
girl?
time.
It's not it's not world
It's
news.
not important news. It's
It's Lucy
Lucy and Annabelle news.
and
What are you gracing us with, Annabelle Jones? Why do I always let you go
Girl.
first?
That's just a pattern that we got in.
Hmm.
Your name's first on the show, so I get to
Oh,
do the
that's
news
true.
first.
And I sing the
There we
theme
go.
song.
True, 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 true.
I'm gonna
Okay.
bet that your news has to do with Yeezy or Kim Kardashian or Machine Gun Kelly.
No, you're wrong. So, James Corden has been
Yeah.
banned from Balthazar restaurant in New York for
What?
being abusive and rude to the staff.
What?
Yeah. And the owner, I'm going to go on here. I was just doing that off of memory, but I want to remember what the quotes are. The restaurateur Keith McNally is an Englishman, claims to have banned James Corden from his New York City restaurant Balthazar, calling the late night host a tiny cretin of a man and the most abusive customer to servers in the restaurant's 25-year history. Yeah, he spazzed
Wow.
out because his wife ordered a omelette for brunch and a egg yolk omelette, and there was like a little bit of white in the omelette, and it didn't come without the fries. It just came. She ordered it with no fries, just salad, and the fries came, and he lost it. And saying like, you haven't done your job properly, blah 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 blah. I should just go in there and cook it myself, like this whole thing. And then he said, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take care of all of our drinks so far, and all of our drinks for the rest of the meal, and that way I won't leave like a bad Yelp review or anything like that.
Excuse me?
And then apparently there was another incident at the same restaurant recently, and the restaurant owner was like, that's the fuck it, don't come here again.
Well, I was gonna say, how often does he go there?
Well, it's quite like a cool place to go,
It's like the
Balthazar.
place to be. Right, 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 right.
And then it
Wow.
says here, and then by the end of the day, by the time the guy Keith McNally has done his tirade, and basically James Corden's called him personally and gone, I am so sorry,
Mm-hmm.
done his little PR cleanup.
Yeah.
And now he's been readmitted to Balthazar.
Oh, really? Are
But
there terms and
yeah,
conditions? My next question is, who orders an egg yolk omelet? That's fucked up.
honestly, I would. That sounds delicious.
I love egg yolk, but like, the whole, I've never heard of that.
I get it, because sometimes I think they put too much white in the omelet.
Right.
I know people think that like an egg white omelet is so healthy,
I hate egg
but
white anything.
it's just not, unless you have like high cholesterol, in which case don't eat eggs. But um, yeah, it sounds delicious and creamy and just
Sounds so
fat,
good.
like
Oh,
fatty, and just like imagine that with like mushroom and
oof.
basil and feta and tomato.
Yes.
Anyway, with the fries, I would definitely have the fries.
Yes.
But what I wanted
Wow.
to say about this is that I think James Corden's gone a bit wrong since he's gone to LA.
It happens to people.
I think he's gone a bit LA. He used to be, just a lad from Essex, bit of a national treasure. And now he's like, hey, Mr. LA. Ho ho.
I get what I
Um,
want.
yeah, yeah. And if I don't, I'm gonna get absolutely fucking mental
Mm-hmm.
until you give me what I want. I just don't like that. As an English person, I'm like, no,
Yeah, they don't put up
where are
with that
your
shit in
manners?
England. They don't put up with that in
No,
England.
you eat your horrid omelette and you go and you talk about it
Yeah.
privately on the
Yeah.
way home when no
Yeah.
one can hear you.
And you
Not eat,
whisper.
yeah,
You whisper about it in your own home,
or in your own car or in a
in your
place where no
car.
one can hear what you're
That's right.
saying.
Yeah,
And you just
Will.
don't go there again.
Exactly. That's what I'm confused about. Like, was he trying to move in there or something? No. Will always comments about the he'd be like, there's so many times where we'll be in line or queue as you call it, and somebody will cut or something, and he goes, "Wow, in England, you would be killed if you fucking cut a
Yeah,
queue.
yeah, you
Like
really
that shit, you
would.
don't fuck around with that shit." Or just so many little things where he goes, "Wow, they would kick your ass in England if you did
Mm,
that in public." And
mm.
people just get
No, it's
away
just
with
people have
crap
like
here.
manners.
There's no
That's
manners.
one of the things I found really, 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 really hard about living in America was the absolute sheer lack of manners.
Yeah, you can hold a door for
Um,
someone, they won't make eye contact with you and say thank you. You let
no.
nobody lets each other in when they're driving. You have to work to get into a lane if you want to change lanes. There's just so many little things that you go to England and you notice the difference immediately. I don't know if you'd notice in France, but
Oh, driving in the taxi around the Arc de Triomphe, I was like, what the? Like
yeah.
cars were going everywhere. There's no lanes.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
the driving
just
in England is spectacular. It's so simple and safe.
well, and I think because it uses common sense,
Yes,
logic,
it
and
does.
manners, just
Yeah,
manners.
yeah.
When you come from a place of just having, not just being
The
like, no,
free for
me
all.
first,
Me
me
first.
fucking first.
Yeah.
But I hate to say it, I think that that's a cultural thing.
It is a cultural thing. It absolutely is. And I didn't understand a lot of what he was talking about until I spent time in England and I drove on the roads and I went, "Oh, I see why like what auto accidents are like one of the top causes of
Mm-hmm.
death
Mm-hmm.
in America, and it's not that way in other parts of the world because it's just
No,
it's like a rodeo. It's like the
it
Wild
really is.
West.
It's it is the Wild West, and I think that that's a cultural thing. I
It
think
is.
that Wild West smash and grab me first mentality hasn't really changed that
Hasn't really
much.
helped us out. No. No.
Anyway, so what's your news,
All
girl?
right, so I figured since I'm in Chicago this week, I was gonna bring you some local news.
Oh my God, please
So,
do.
yeah, I have a really interesting fact, which I'm personally feeling up in arms about, and I'm definitely gonna look into in my own area because I've never known the answer to this. How many parking tickets do you think are issued in a big city like Chicago in a year? Would you have any idea?
Okay, like 100,000.
Noble guess. So, in the last 6 months, over 1 million parking tickets have been issued in 6 months. That is up like a third of what it was last year within 6 months. Not only
They're trying to
that,
make that
they're
money.
trying to make that money. They got to meet their quotas. They are booting
Mm-hmm.
more cars than ever. Chicago drivers received 1,073,919. Don't ask me to do numbers. By
Too
June,
big.
compared to 853,000 in that 6 months the year before. So it's gone up. It's increased by 31%. Blah, blah, blah. I found that fascinating because I'd never wondered that about my own city. I wonder,
In LA? Are you kidding? Okay, so
it's out of control with the parking tickets in LA. They will stand there until the clock hits whatever time it is that the cutoff is, and they will write you that ticket as the clock turns.
so here's a hot take. Um, I would say that the reason it's probably risen is because they lost so much money on parking tickets
Yeah.
during COVID when people weren't entering the city for work during their cars,
Yep.
in their cars, and people weren't going anywhere. Can you imagine the money that they lost? Money that they definitely rely on.
Yeah.
I know LA, the reason why there are so many tickets and the reason why they clean one side of the street one day and another side of the street another day and have such confusing signs and all of that stuff is 100% by design in order to give as many tickets as possible, because LA is in so much debt as a city that it's one of the easiest ways for them to make money. It's passive income.
Yeah. So, gang, don't let them get you. Be careful with those signs.
Don't get mugged. Don't get scammed by these people that are out to get you.
Don't get raped. No, wait, I have a story behind that. So apparently my grandfather, when he was so angry that we were all coming in and like moving things around in his apartment because the nurses started to come in.
Yeah.
He apparently said to my cousin that his shoehorn wasn't in the place where it usually was for 20 years, and he was so pissed about this. And the shoehorn has always been right here, and now it's not here. And he said, and if that's not rape, then I don't know what is. But then we came to find out that rape means stealing. It's been a word for stealing throughout history.
Okay.
And my cousin, who's very brilliant, she's a scholar and she's very, very smart and educated, was telling us about this, about the meaning of rape and how it applied to women because women were a man's property. So if you took a woman or did anything to, she was part of being raped of one's property. I know. But my fucking 97-year-old grandfather saying if that's not rape, I don't know what is, about his shoehorn just made me fucking.
Oh my God, that's some real old man shit right there.
Don't let those parking maids rape you, people.
Yeah, big time.
Watch your possessions.
Watch yourselves.
Well, we had
They're
a lot
raping
of
everybody up here. Do you remember that video?
Hide your kids, hide your wife.
Anyways, so that's our news. Apparently James Corden's a wanker and we're all getting mugged off by the city. Shocking, absolutely shocking revelations today on the news.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome.
But shall we get into a bit of what we were discussing last week about your situation? And
yeah, let's chat for a bit about it. I want to say that the listener feedback since we put our first season 4 premiere episode out has been extraordinary. I have never heard from so many people as this last episode we put out, sharing their own experiences about abuse. I'm so happy to hear from you all. I'm just so happy for everybody, for the things you said. It was really humbling, and I'll continue to write people back, and yeah, just wild. I not only heard from listeners of the show, but personally, I started to hear from others who had escaped Gloria Gifford's acting class. And these people were emotional, and men, I'm talking men from all over the place. One man is in Ukraine, and he wrote me having heard the episode. One man's in New York City, he wrote me. Um, he had spoken with the man in Ukraine for like 2 hours on the phone about it.
Whoa.
Yeah. And these are hot model macho guys. These are like manly men who escaped this
Mm,
situation before I did, like a couple
mm.
years before I was able to
Wow.
leave. And they were so emotional over hearing this because nobody else is talking about it. I mean, they are here and there, but I think the conversation is mounting and
Yes.
people are really, really grateful for that. And they're joining in.
Yeah.
They're joining in
Yeah.
and they want to talk
Yeah.
about it. So
Probably such a relief for so many people just be like, oh my God, we can finally just like
I
talk about
know
this.
I'm not crazy. I
Nope.
just wanted to share a couple because we always like to share our listener feedback. Is there anything that stuck out to you, Annabelle?
Yeah, I'll just read this first one, shall I?
Okay, sure.
This has to be one of your best episodes ever. I had a feeling Lucy was in Scientology when she was speaking about cults. This question is for Lucy. Have you ever spoken to Leah Remini? Because she's done a series on TV regarding Scientology and how she got out, which was very interesting. I'm glad you left. And Annabel, I'm so happy that you chose to live in England. It's so beautiful there with all that's going on here in the States. I wouldn't want to come back here to live for sure. I'm born and raised in New York and lived here all my life, and the crime is just horrible. It's actually like that in all big cities: LA, San Francisco, Chicago, New York, you name it. Enjoy your life in Hampshire. You have your family, friends there, and you have your cutie pie with you. Oh,
Aw.
I cannot wait for your next episode. Keep up the great work, ladies.
Aw, that's so
Oh,
sweet.
wow, that is
Oh,
so
to answer your
nice.
question, I am in the process of connecting with Leah Remini. It definitely will happen. She knows exactly who Gloria is. And yeah, her documentary on Scientology has been a huge inspiration and help to me getting healthy again and getting unbrainwashed. So I'm really grateful to Leah
Mm.
Remini for all the work she's continuing to do. This is from another listener. It says, Lucy, thank you for opening up about your experiences with your abuser. These past 6 months, I've been stalked and abused by a former friend, and this past week it escalated, and I finally got the courage to go to the police. I didn't want to, but I had to draw the line at her outright threats of violence against me. She knows where I live and work. We were best friends for over a decade, and I don't feel safe. I don't want to live every day in fear. Later this week, I will use the police report to help my case for a restraining order against her. Wow. I kept saying I was going to get one for months, but was afraid they would reject me because it's not a domestic situation. No matter the outcome, I'm going to fight for myself and hope with all my evidence the court will be on my side. So happy you two are back. That's interesting to hear
Wow.
that because also last week when you and I recorded about this high control group and the narcissistic abuse, I also went on another podcast to talk about the experience of the stalker that
Yeah.
came after me. And I said that I know so many women who have been denied restraining orders when they have absolutely
Most,
need, most women have
most
been,
women.
and men. I mean, I'm sure there's men out there too. Most people are denied restraining orders when they really desperately need them. So I just feel so grateful that I got one. And
Mm,
I just, I'm so thankful for that every day because I know how rare it is that people take you
yeah.
seriously when you come to them for help about that stuff. So, best of luck to you, listener. Thank you for sharing that with us, and we definitely want updates.
Yes. So another listener, OMG, you were so brave, Lucy. It's horrible how they brainwash people, and it's true. People are both afraid and ashamed to tell what they went through. It took a long time to open your eyes, but better late than never, and I congratulate you. On the other hand, there's no money that can buy peace of mind. There's a time you need people around you, and there's a time you need to be alone and find yourself. I'm glad Annabelle is having it in this beautiful cottage. Welcome back and love you, girls. We love you too.
Oh. Yeah, that's what you said about standing on your own doesn't mean being an island, but knowing when
No.
you need to connect and knowing when you need to recharge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this final one.
This final one is just from a guy that escaped the class before I did. He was just really wrote me this long beautifully emotional message. He just said, Lucy, I'm relieved. I'm relieved. I look at all the things that you're doing now, and I think, of course, all those great things are in this new chapter, because you aren't having your soul crushed or your
Mm.
individuality questioned by someone who will never truly understand what being an artist means. Wow. I thought I 100% agree with you about how the women took more abuse than the men. With the guys, she just wanted to be desired and validated, and for the
Oof.
women, it was a different story.
Mm.
It made me smile to hear you laugh as you reflected on some experiences. And I asked him what the final straw for him leaving was. And his answer
Mm-hmm.
was really interesting. He said, you need to keep addressing this. Karma needs to catch up with her in a big way. The article didn't even mention the students that she had locked up in her house. Yeah.
What?
I mean, there's like so much to even, there's so much. We could talk about this for 10 years. He goes on to say, that he too has had PTSD dreams. The thing that pushed him to leave most was the lying, being pumped up with lies
Yeah.
constantly. Um, yeah, it was, yeah, the lie that Scientology is not pushed in class. He says, well, in my mind, she quietly suggested to me one time that I should look into a course through Scientology, and I call that pushing Scientology in class. Yeah, I got these long messages from people this week, and he's just one of them,
Yeah.
and so it was incredible.
Oh
Obviously,
God.
something that people need to talk about more. Obviously,
I just wonder, because she's been teaching for so long, how many stories like this there are.
hundreds.
I mean, she's had thousands and thousands of students over the years.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it's
don't
so
know.
random to like point that I mentioned, or a casting director had seen the article and mentioned it to me and said, I took a coaching with her like 20 years ago and I have a horrible story of what happened. Like it's random
Really?
people, yeah, that I don't even know. So many people have these stories. And now that's what happens after an abuser is exposed. All these people come out of the
Yeah.
woodwork and share the
Mm-hmm.
same stories.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
wild, but it takes so much time for that to happen.
It really does. I just watched last week really heavy but unbelievably well made documentary, a British horror story about Jimmy Savile.
Mm.
You remember that story? Jimmy
Oh yeah.
Savile, he was
Oh yeah.
a TV entertainer, host, kids entertainer, who
He was a hero.
he was
He was a
a
national hero.
national treasure. He raised millions for charity, and was beloved in this nation.
Yeah.
And it turned out after it started rising up in his final months of being on this earth, but that he had molested and raped like thousands of kids,
Countless people.
and people. And he did it because somehow he managed to arrange his life so that he had apartments in like hospitals and schools where he would go and volunteer every week.
Yep.
Um, and then the rest of the time he'd be driving around in his fucking pedo van. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just, if you can have access to that, definitely give it a watch. I think it's called A British Horror Story. It was a fascinating documentary, but the fact that it took so long, even though everyone in the industry was talking about it since like the 50s,
Yeah.
that he was a pedophile.
Yeah.
Um,
People have been whispering about the abuse at the Gloria Gifford Conservatory for 30 years.
yeah, I mean, you
Unreal.
guys all just gotta keep talking about it because
Yeah. I know. There was something you said to me last week You said it was interesting that the article spun it the way that they did. There were so many lies in there that weren't challenged. And
Yeah.
you said it would be cool if we could challenge some of those. And it just brought up a couple things that I wanted to mention
Hmm.
on that point.
Yeah.
There's a quote of Gloria's in the article where they're asking her if she's ever had any kind of smear campaigns against students who have left, if she's ever exposed personal information of anybody. And she said, I hear so many crazy things, and I would never, never, never tell anyone.
Mm,
And that's an absolute lie, um, with hard evidence to back it up
mm,
on many occasions. But
mm,
one that I witnessed personally was a girl was leaving class and they were on a phone conversation
mm.
because you don't leave in person if you can help it, like we talked about last
Yeah,
week.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and this girl was leaving, and she was an officer, and she had a real problem with the abuse that was going on, and she was asking questions. And that's why Gloria got her on the phone to shut down her questions and
Mm,
brainwash her back the other way.
mm,
And this girl said, I'm not going to put up with it anymore. It's not okay. I'm leaving class.
mm,
And Gloria said, and I heard this, I was sitting with this girl at the time. Gloria said, well, it's Lucy who's making you leave class, isn't it? And the girl said, no. And she said, oh, yes, it is. She's trying to get everyone to leave class. Let me tell you about Lucy. Lucy is just a little girl who can't get her daddy's attention, and she's pissed off, and she'll fuck any guy who will fuck her. And she had one guy who she took home, and she didn't even know him, and he was a stranger, and she let him handcuff her to his bed. And she fucked that guy. Lucy's just a whore and a slut and not to be trusted. She goes off on this thing, this tirade, this smear of me for no reason. It doesn't make sense, but this is what a narcissistic abuser does because they're on their own planet. And the girl's just sitting there listening and says, I'm still leaving class.
Thanks for the info,
Thanks
but
for the
I'm still.
info. And then Gloria said, okay, okay, okay. So it looks really bad that you're leaving class right now because I'm being accused of abuse. And it looks really bad that you're leaving. So, can I tell everyone in class that you're leaving because you're physically sick and you need help? And the girl said, no, I'm not comfortable with that. And Gloria said, okay, 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 okay. Can I tell people that you are mentally ill and that's why you're leaving class because you're going to get help? And the girl says, absolutely not. I'm not comfortable with you saying any of that. So they get off the phone. And then about a week later, a girl in the class shared audio recording that she had of Gloria telling the class that this girl had left because she was mentally unstable and she was going to go into psychological program for it or something. So the flat out lies in this article where she says she doesn't do this stuff just aren't gonna fly. They're
Because
just,
there's actual recordings
and
that
that's just one instance.
she really thinks that she's like untouchable, which
Yeah,
is interesting to me. I mean, in case anyone needed any more proof that she's a total narcissist, she really believes that she's like untouchable.
they always do. They always do. It's a trait of that animal. Um, yeah. And it's amazing that I'm being bullied, that people who are speaking out are being bullied. But that's what humans do. When humans can't confront the truth for themselves, they get really angry when others do. And they
Yeah.
have to be mad at someone, and they can't be mad at themselves or their abuser. They cannot be mad at their abuser, so they're going to be mad at
Yeah.
the one who's speaking out. So I understand exactly why I'm getting so much hate
Shit from
at the
people, yeah.
moment.
Who probably are still in the group and whatever.
Yeah.
Because you are
Shining a
basically,
flashlight on something they're not willing to.
yeah, you're confronting their beliefs about their own lives,
Yeah.
and that's, people don't like that.
No.
There's been other bits that you've mentioned to me, and one of the things that I'm always really interested in with cults and situations like this is the financial element,
Yeah.
because I'm always fascinated to know how these people bankroll themselves, because they don't really do any work. um I mean, they're working all the time constantly, but they're not doing things to justify usually the lifestyles that they're living. How are they paying for the houses? How are they paying for the cars? How are they paying to, in some situations with cults, like to house and feed all of these people,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know?
Mm-hmm.
And you've, without going into too much detail, you have recently completely revamped your life, revamped your finances, and you have kind of gone on like a financial detox, and then kind of relearning
Yeah.
your relationship with money. And you and I have had some chats in the past, but I haven't really, I think I've only ever asked you once a question about your finances with regard to this situation, because I can understand that it could be a real source of like pain and also shame, and I don't ever want it ever to feel when I'm asking you about this like I'm like, so
Where'd all your
because
money
that's,
go?
yeah, like why because trust me, like, that my history of like how I used to be with money was just a disaster.
Yeah.
um so it, would you be open to talking about the financial kind of ramifications and also structures
Yeah.
or experiences or
Yeah, she did a lot. Yeah, I'll tell you one thing in general, and then I'll tell you a second quick thing that was kind of one of the final straws for me in
mm-hmm.
escaping. Uh, so in general, she abused a lot of people financially, and I've spoken to a lot of them, people that have been out of class for 5, 10, 15 years. Looking back, everybody has the same kind of story. Um, People spent hundreds, over $100,000 in various way through credit cards, putting stuff on credit cards for her, um,
Oh,
going into credit card debt, going into debt, having to borrow from friends and family.
now
Not
is
be
that to pay for class, or
It's
is
to
that
pay
because
for a
she's
class.
like,
It's also
I
because, yeah, it's
want,
well, I'll give you an example. So, and it's also because it becomes hard to work because you're giving so much of your time to her. Like you're kind of forced to give so much of your
yeah,
time to
yeah,
the
it's a
group.
full-time job.
Yeah. Yeah, so it became very, very hard to work, to hold down a job. Um, but one little thing, and there's many more like this, one thing she always does, and she flat out lied about this to the magazine, she gives fines.
Mm.
She gives fines to people in the group. If you're late, if you didn't watch the movie that you're supposed to
Okay,
watch
so what's
every
the
week.
fine when you were in the group? What was the fine if you were late?
The fine if you were late would be anything she wanted it to be.
Okay,
She would change numbers all the time, but like
okay.
it depended on how much you had pissed her off that day.
Was some
Um,
people get higher fines frequently than other people?
yeah, yeah, that
Okay,
happened. Uh, and many people this happened to, not just me, but the fines could be anywhere from $10 to $200. Um,
God.
and if you were late, if you didn't take direction in a scene, if you made her mad in any way, a fine. there was a time I was doing,
It's like extortion.
yeah, I was doing a scene with a girl and she was directing us and the girl wasn't listening and she made her pay $200. That was a coaching for a showcase, which she made us do showcases all the time, which is where you work on a scene and
Yeah.
it's like a 1 hour thing and casting directors and people can come to watch you. And we'd have
Hmm.
these frequently, which cost a lot of money. They cost about $1,000 to be in them. And then you had to pay her like $300, $350, whatever, 250, whatever,
Why does it cost 1,000 to be in them?
to rent the theater, to get your cost, just food. There was always food at these things. Lighting person, press, promo to promote her school. You were paying for all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
And then there would be a coaching fee where she would be directing you and you would be paying her a couple $100 to coach. And there was a time when I wasn't listening to her or whatever, me and my scene partner, so she made us pay for a double coaching. And the thing about these fines is that she never leaves a paper trail. She never puts it in an email. She has a finance officer who's the one who handles all her money for her, and they are the
Yeah.
the policeman that comes after you to pay your money to what you owe to Gloria. There's never a paper trail. It's never put into email. She's very, very clever about that. So that when it
Yeah.
came time for us to share that with the Hollywood Reporter, they couldn't do anything with that because there's no evidence because she makes sure of it. There's no receipts. You don't get a
Well, because
receipt.
it's extortion. That's
Yeah,
why
it's
it's
absolute
illegal.
extortion. Yeah, it's absolutely illegal. And so that's like a general reason that you spend so much money there, in addition to your monthly class, in addition to being in the plays and the showcases, which is thousands and thousands of dollars.
She's
Yeah,
a con artist.
I spent over $100,000 in the 10 years I was there.
She
And
really is a fucking con artist.
yeah, it's nuts. But a specific example of the financial abuse that I experienced personally was every play that we did, every play that she does, there's like a pot of money where everybody gives $20 to be part of this
Hmm.
pot. And so, and then she double and triple casts the play, which she says is so that you can go to your job and not have to take work off and you can have an understudy who can go up in your role. But it's very clear that the real reason she double and triple and quadruple casts the roles is to bring in more money
Yeah, yeah.
because there were people who paid to be a part of the play that never went up in the role. And she says it's so
Mm.
that you can be around the process to get experience and blah blah blah. Anyway, it's all a scam. But this audience pot, right? Whoever brings in the most audience over the run of the play, which is usually about 3 months, wins the pot, and it would be hundreds of dollars. So
So
the
unhealthy. Even that is so unhealthy for kind of like interpersonal relationships, and is such an amazing tactic for building resentment between all of you and insecurities and tearing you down in this really way, which like seems like it might be fun, but actually it's tearing everyone down and adding this other layer of pressure. And every time you don't win, you feel like shit, and then you feel like shit, so you go so into class so you can feel better and be better at what you do, so then maybe more people will come in. And you know, nobody can you imagine, I mean, of course you can imagine, because I'm sure you didn't win the pot all the time, because I'm sure nobody always won the pot unless it was like her. But
Funny you should
how
say that.
bad.
Funny you should say that.
Okay, don't, she didn't win the pot, how could she win the pot? Is she in the play?
Because here's how she won the pot. So, this last play that I did, me and another girl were the top winners. There were two of
Mm.
us. So the pot was going to
Mm-hmm.
be split. Now there's a girl who's always in charge of keeping track of the audience numbers and who collects the money for the pot. There's like a person in charge of this, if you can believe that. And that girl had shown us the numbers. We all knew what they were, and it was me and one other woman.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a third one, another girl under us, and she wasn't winning, right? Now, a lot of actors in the group couldn't afford to pay for the play by the time they would be on like ongoing payment plans with Gloria for years, paying off
So
these.
she's putting people
Yeah.
into debt.
Oh yeah, massively, massively, thousands of dollars. And anyway, I was paid off for the play. I was paid off, and this other winning girl was paid off. The third girl under us was not paid off. You got it? So me and the girl are going to win. They go to announce it. Everyone's there. And she goes, and this girl's the winner. And she names that first girl. And then when she went to name me, she skipped over me and she goes, and so won the other half. And she skipped down to that third girl. And everybody looked at me because everybody knew who had won. And she's sitting there thinking that nobody is on to what she's doing. So the girl directly under me, who had not paid for the play, walks up to the front very sheepishly because she knew what the deal was as well. And she takes the money from Gloria and she hands it right back to Gloria to pay for the play.
Cheeky bitch.
So that's how she did that. And then I'm just mortified by this point because I just don't want to be in this situation. And she goes, Lucy, come here. And she pulls me up and she wants to talk to me about this because when she lies to you, she goes in on you to brainwash you into seeing it her way, which is what she did with that girl on the phone who was trying to leave.
Mm-hmm.
It was the same, it's the same tactic. Come here. You thought you were going to win, didn't you? And I said, well, yeah, I know I won. And she said, well, you didn't. That other girl brought in like a bunch of people at the very end and she won. And I'm just going, okay, I
Yeah.
don't give a fuck. Like, let me go back to my
Please
fucking
fuck
seat.
off.
This is
Yeah.
so stupid. Such a waste of my life right now. And she's just hounding me, won't let it go, won't let it go. You thought you won, so
Until
you
you
didn't win.
like,
Until you give in to her, which I wouldn't do. I just was like, okay, all right, fine, that's fine. And I walk back, and the girl who was in charge of the list and the top girl who had won are like, fucking say something. This is bullshit. We all know what happened. Fucking stand up for yourself. And I went, you guys, I don't care.
well, also like they would.
It's like $400. That's a lot of money. But like,
I mean, that's a
please.
lot, yeah.
I know, but like, this is so embarrassing and so fucked up and weird. Just leave me
And just not
alone.
worth the like torment. You'll just like get this
It's
off
not worth
me.
the torment. Now, all three of those girls are still there.
That's what I'm saying to you. It's like, why don't they say something? Why don't you lot all say, we all know, by the way, who won?
Ask them. I think everybody knows the answer to that. Anyway, those are the tidbits I'll share with you today. I won't go into the darker stuff where, a past student of hers had died, who she hated because he did speak up against her. And when he died, she said, good, I'm glad he died. He was an asshole, and he's better off dead. And his parents are better off because he's dead. And anybody who's sad that he's gone is an asshole too. Which led to me not grieving the death of my friend for years.
Mm.
So we won't go into that today because that's a whole nother can of worms. But, I'll leave you with...
She's like really evil. Like there's like it's not just like, oh, it's just about the money or the scamming. It's not just about the money, which for some of these people it is. It's just getting as much possible money.
No, this is not about the money.
There's a pleasure that she derives from other people's pain.
Yeah.
It seems like it's
there's
so
a real sick pleasure
disgusting.
to all of it.
It's so disgusting. It's so godless and just Oh,
Ugh. Woo!
hideous creature. And so was this all on top of, sorry for more financial questions, was
It's
this all
okay.
on top of like also the money that you were paying presumably to be in Scientology? Because I know Scientology puts people into crazy debt.
Yeah, so Scientology was even more money, which I was paying on top of all this. But she was the person who had brought me in. So anything I
Mm-hmm.
signed up for, she got a cut, she got a percentage. So she told me when I went to the Scientology
Is
Celebrity
it a
Center.
pyramid
I
scheme?
know it is. Yeah, it is. She said, you're not allowed to sign up for any courses without telling me first because you go through me. And she told me she was doing it to protect me so that they didn't take
Oh,
advantage of me. But it
no, so that
was,
she could take advantage of you.
yeah. And she has that in place with her handful of students who are taking the courses. So she had at that time probably about 10 people that were in that situation.
Are you comfortable disclosing how much you spent on Scientology
Yeah, I
over the
didn't
course of the 10 years?
I
12
I,
years, was
I
that?
really I only studied for about 3 years,
Okay.
and I never went fully in because I was
Mm.
just doing it to appease her.
Right. Okay.
But I knew that it was really creepy and I didn't want any part in it.
Interesting.
That's such deep psychological brainwashed shit.
But
But
it still really got under your skin, even though you were resistant, didn't
yeah,
it? It's
yeah,
still
it
the
did.
teachings and the philosophy of it
It did
still
because it
really.
makes sense. It's sensible, helpful stuff. That's the fucked up part. Is you're like, oh, okay, well, this is helpful. Like, I like that. I like that concept. So you, and that's what they say. The devil mixes lies with truth, and so
Mm,
you're so confused because you're getting things that make
mm,
sense, while at the same
yeah.
time being totally used. So I never went in and did the hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars that they take from people, but I would say in the course of the 3 4 years that I was actively studying, I spent maybe $5,000.
Okay.
So not
Okay.
a lot.
I thought you were going to say like $100,000 or
No,
something.
no, I always held off as much as I could and just
Okay.
dabbled to the level that I could appease my abuser.
It's actually quite good that I'm not in California anymore
A lot of people feel the same, Annabelle.
because I just feel so angry that
I know.
I it makes me feel like I want to go like full Punisher.
A lot of people agree. There's a lot of angry people coming out of the woodwork right now. And
As I love to say, what's the address? Because I just want to talk.
well, she loves to talk.
I would love to just have a chat.
So that's all I'll leave you with today.
Whew, Lucy, when we talk about this stuff, my heart rate really goes up. And I feel so angry and so emotional. Last week when we got off the phone, I like spazzed out and I like danced in the kitchen insanely for like an hour, and then I just cried and had like a full meltdown. I cannot imagine how you feel. I'm just listening.
Yeah.
I'm just listening to you, and I cannot imagine the strength that it took to be in it and leave it. And now you're in this situation where you have to muster more strength to heal from it and to continue healing from it. And it's like you still have this like emotional labor to do even though you're out. And I just can't imagine how like angry that makes you feel and how kind of tired. I'm sure that it doesn't all the time, but I'm sure that there are days where you probably do just feel completely overwrought by it and just don't even want to get out of bed, I'd imagine.
I'm past that. Maybe it'll come back. I mean, like we just said, grief definitely doesn't go away, and these things
Mm,
are a very long process. But where I'm at lately is I just feel so strong and unafraid.
mm,
I feel totally
good.
unafraid. I did have a very tricky week when we recorded the first episode because,
Yeah.
like I said, that week I was being interviewed about the stalker as well.
Mm,
And I didn't mean for those two things to happen at once, but
yeah.
it just put
Isn't that
me.
how life like
Yeah,
goes sometimes? It's like,
yeah,
hey, here's everything at once. Good
yeah.
luck.
But I I want to shine a light on things so that we can all talk about this. And
Yeah.
the feedback's been extraordinary, and that really fuels me on. And I feel good.
Good. Sharing your traumatizing experiences doesn't always feel good, but
No,
when you get that feedback that it's helping people, it kind of just really makes it feel uh lighter. And as
anyway,
always, I think we send love to those who are still in the group, um,
yeah,
and strength. And I think sometimes when we care about people or a situation and we feel really powerless, it's one thing that Jeff always says to me is just send them love and surround them with love in
yeah.
your mind's eye and in your heart. And that is enough, honestly. Um,
That's really all you can
so
do. You know who I'm sending love and light to?
oh girl.
That French man in that cafe that beat you down.
Oh my god, love and light, babe. Feel better soon. Get well soon, honey. Just only drinks for you,
Oh my god.
if that's what you want.
So where are your escapades taking you this week?
Alex's family, his mom and dad are coming to visit from Chicago tomorrow, which is going to be cute and low-key a little scary, but cute.
Yeah, have you met them?
I have, yeah. This will be the most time that I've spent with them for sure. It's interesting. It's a whole other we can talk about this after, but it's really daunting to um be in a situation where it's like another family and you were married and you thought it's one of these things where it's like, oh wait, another family, um when you just were not expecting that to be the case ever again.
Wow,
There's this kind
that's
of
a
rub
lot.
with it for me, and it's because every family has their own dynamics and their own dysfunctions and their own difficulties, and I think that the dynamics in the last family I was a part of were and are interesting, um and I'm still trying to figure out that dynamic, how to be the widow of their son and brother, and I don't know how, um and it really torments me, like massively, not to get emotion, but it is
Yeah,
really it's really really difficult.
yeah.
So then to be opening myself up to another family, it feels really terrifying. um which is like, I wasn't expecting that. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting to feel so terrified, but I do. And I love Alex's family. I really do. I love his parents, and I think they're so fun and always a good time and funny and interesting, and they really um, partake in life, and I love that. I love that about them.
Yeah.
Um, so I just am looking forward to spending more time with them, getting to know them, And we're going to do a couple days here. We're going to Cotswolds, and then we're going to spend some time in London.
I want to say I'm really proud of you for that. That's a
Mm.
major, major deal. And
Yes.
I didn't even think about that, but I'm glad you brought it up because I want to talk more about it and hear
Yeah.
how the experience is after their visit. And hey, let them know if they need a ride to the airport. You know, I got them. I'm here.
They're already on their way, babe. More of the same, more life, more giggles, more tears, more everything.
More everything.
Love you all.
Love you.